Feel like he had to remind the world of how handsome he is after doing Argyle with that awful haircut. He came back and he's like, don't forget who's the stud in this town.
And then the fight scenes with Alan Ritchson, who is gigantic in this movie, by the way.
So this is based on an actual military campaign called Operation Postmaster Theater.
I was originally going to say a 7.5. That's what I originally had.
I'm talking you down right now, huh?
No, I had it there originally.
Sure you did.
And then I feel like the version of you inside my head talked it back up. And now the real life version of you is talking it back down.
Yeah. You didn't want me to be like, what?
Yeah,
1.5 on a Henry Cavill movie?
Yes, exactly.
The characters, it's all very silly and fun and like campy. And it was brilliantly like done by like
it's campy in like a serious way though, you know?
Like a bloody,
it's not cheesy. Welcome to Backseat Directing.
We talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And today we're doing a movie review on the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
3, 2, 1, action.
It's always a good day when you get to watch a movie with Henry Cavill in it.
Oh, he's looking good. I told Sierra too after we left that I feel like he had to remind the world of how handsome he is after doing Argyle with that awful haircut. He came back and he's like, don't forget who's the stud in this town.
Dude, what a good looking guy.
Handsome man.
What a great actor too. And in this movie as well, he was more of the actor rather than the muscle or the stunt guy, or like
him and his partner just announced that they're having a baby.
I saw that.
Isn't that awesome news?
Yeah, that's
congratulations, Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
I love you to death.
Yes, I'm sure he's watching.
In a totally like normal way. Like not stalkery way.
It actually does seem pretty normal because all my other guy friends feel exactly the same.
Yeah, it's average.
Yeah,
it's average.
All right, what did you think of this movie?
I thought it was really, really cool. So the trailer, I've said in a past episode, we reacted to it, and I said it was like the best trailer that I've seen for a movie this year.
It was fun.
The most pumped I was with another one bites the dust.
Yeah.
Another one bites the dust. Pow, pow. Yeah, and timing it with all the gunshots and everything. It looks super excited. I think for the most part, it lived up to the hype I had expected for it. There were like, I have some fairly good sized critiques, and we'll get into that when we do our ratings. But how about you? What'd you think?
Yeah, overall, it was awesome. The fights were great. Like them going through the night and just, shooting everyone. And then the fight scenes with Alan Ritchson, who is gigantic in this movie, by the way. I leaned over to Keegan when we were watching it because I was sitting next to him in the theaters. And every shot that he would come on the screen, I was like, is he getting bigger? Like, all they did was cut over to Henry and then back to him. And he's bigger.
Yeah.
He's got to be like hitting some curls or something as the camera's like swiping. Like
Henry Cavill's shrouded in mystery in this movie too. His muscles are totally covered up. He's wearing like long sleeves the entirety of the film.
Yeah,
always wearing coats.
Yeah, which was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, that's a funny part of the movie and funny part of the wardrobe.
Yeah, that's a positive about the movie is that it is funny. It's got a lot of fun one-liners and fun moments. When he's like handing the cigar to one of the security guards. And then like takes it back. Yeah, that was so funny. Right.
This movie kind of revolves around Henry Cavill in a sense, but one of my main big critiques will be that he just wasn't in it enough.
Yeah, I totally agree. Can you give me a quick summary of what the movie's about?
All right, this could be actually considered our source code segment, which is where we go over like the inspiration or material that was the ignition of the spark for the idea for a story. So this is based on an actual military campaign called Operation Postmaster. It occurred in 1942 during the Second World War. The British sent a team over to Fernando Po in South America, which is considered the Spanish neutral territory, where the Italians and Germans had some of their ships in a harbor. And these two teams, basically covert operations and spy teams for the British, the SSRF and the SOE, they embarked out on this journey in 1941. Took a long time for them to sail over there, but by 1942 they arrived at Fernando Po, and they were planning to board the Italian-German ships and make off with them in the dead of night. They successfully undertook this mission and kind of became war heroes in a sense. Like everybody involved in this mission who we see in the movie, like Gus March Phillips, Anders Lassen, I think is his name, is Alan Ritchson's character, and then Isaac Gonzalez's character as well. They were all given like the British Medal of Valor, essentially, or their version of the Medal of Valor for their contribution to the war effort.
Mm-hmm. And then
you heard something from Henry Cavill too about this, didn't you?
Yeah, I was listening to an interview with him on the Rich Eisen's show, and he was saying that from his memory, he believes that not a single shot was fired that night. Yeah. And he's like, it's obviously completely different in the movie.
They conducted it really intelligently, even still, in both stories, even though there is gunfire in the movie. The SOE, which is more of like the spy side of the British team, they like organized a party for the war, like the Nazi and Italian military generals and everything.
Yeah.
And so this party was like a distraction essentially for the other members of the SSRF to board these ships and escape with them, because these ships hold materials that they use, like carbon filters that go into the German U-boats, which, I mean, if you grew up in America and learned about World War II like 50 times, like anyone who they teach it every single year, you know that the U-boats are like a big part of the Nazis' early success in World War II, because they had these really effective submarines that made it impossible for American military to cross the Atlantic to come over and aid European countries, or even for other European countries to travel. It's a big way that they moved around, like supplies and troops, was over the water. Mm-hmm. Like they still use planes, and there's planes in the movie like fighting in warfare, but it was just a lot more. And even still today, in a lot of sense, it's more effective to use boats for a lot of like transportation of goods.
Sure. This movie obviously came out in 2024. That's this year. We actually saw an early screening of it. That's how we were able to get this out so quick. It's rated R. It's 2 hours long. And right now on IMDb, it has a 7.1 out of 10. And the budget isn't... I had to go on Google for the budget. It wasn't on IMDb, but it's estimated to be 60 million. And then, of course, there's no box office numbers yet because we saw it a week before it technically comes out. So we haven't even hit the opening weekend. By the time this comes out, though, that would have already passed.
The budget sounds kind of cheap when you watch like the movie and how big the scale is. Like, yeah, they obviously shot on a lot of locations. I mean, there's some special effects in there. I think there's some times where the fire doesn't look the best, but I think overall, like, the movie looks really good. So yeah, 60 million by today's standards, pretty cheap for a movie.
Yeah.
I will say that Guy Richie directed this movie. It's his second time collaborating with Henry Cavill, who stars in the film as Gus March Phillips. And then we also have our two other main stars are Alan Ritchson and Isaac Gonzalez, along with, there's other members of the team, but those are, I'd say, the key players.
I encourage you to go look it up on IMDb. But since this is a lightning review,
jinx,
we're going to move on to our ratings, which we break down into 6 different categories, starting with story, which we think is the most important part of making a good movie, is having a good story behind it. And this category is out of 10 points. Andrew, what did you give the story of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
I gave the story a 7. I thought I kind of gave it a middling score because I thought it was like half really amazing and then half quite slow or less interesting to me. There's the downside of the story for me was any time that they spent on the spy side, I didn't hate it, or I wouldn't even go as far. I say I enjoyed it somewhat, but I was wishing to get back to the ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Those like the gentlemen that the movie.
Andrew's talking about when the movie was following a female and a black guy. He wasn't involved.
I wanted to be back on the white man.
Yes.
No, and that wasn't it. That's part of the story was still good, but it was just the imbalances of the scales. Where it's like all the action and the most exciting parts of the movie, and kind of like the people who are like the biggest characters, like Alan Ritchson and
he's funny,
and Henry Cavill were like were big characters. Like the guy with the nipple clamps, like electric thing was they were the better, more fun group to be with, and we spent probably 60% of the story away from them.
Yeah.
It feels like, at least.
It definitely felt a little imbalanced. I give it an 8 out of 10, and I think partially is just because I like Henry Cavill so much. You know, and
it's carry you pretty far.
I know that's not part of the story, but like their portion of the story was so good. But yeah, it did feel like Henry Cavill, Alan Ritchson, and all of that group was the B team. You know,
in terms of the plot,
of the story. Like we were barely with them, it felt like. And I definitely remember thinking that when we were watching it, of like, okay, we're gonna get back to the person I came here for.
After that bow and arrow scene in the first half, I was just like basically waiting for something like that to happen. You know, like the kid in Incredibles. He's like, what are you waiting for?
Something amazing, I guess. Yeah. I was feeling the same way. And like you said, like when we were following the, I guess, A team, it was interesting. But it would have been cooler if somehow they like were interacting more, or if we were just more with the actual team. But I mean, I guess they're just kind of sailing for 14 days straight. So like,
not as
what
exciting.
are they doing? But
I
also, it's real based on real events too.
So they can't be too liberal. I mean, they already changed things, but they're trying to keep to some blueprint of real life. I think another thing that hurts, I count this part of the story for me, is I feel like they tricked me, making me think there would be more action than there was. And then also the scene where he picks up the axe. We talked about this at length. They tricked me again. There
wasn't enough.
There's a scene where Anders Lawson picks up the axe, and you really think he's just about to go absolutely just wild man.
Which he does, but it's not shown on camera.
It's kind of off. It's like 80%, 90% off camera. The carnage with the axe. So that was that hurt the plot for me. That was like a big disappointment moment in the movie.
Sure,
and it stuck with me. Yeah, like I was thinking about that, namely when I left the theater.
I was originally gonna say a 7.5. That's what I originally had.
I'm talking you down right now, huh?
No, I had it there originally.
Sure, he did.
And then I feel like the version of you inside my head talked it back up. And now the real life version of you is talking it back down.
Yeah. You didn't want me to be like, what?
Yeah.
1.5 on a Henry Cavill movie?
Yes, exactly. Okay, speaking of Henry Cavill, our next category is acting, and this is also out of 10 points. And this includes not only their performance, but also like the stunt work and the choreography and stuff like that. What'd you think?
I gave it an 8.
So did I.
Yeah, especially including the stunt choreography. Like, I feel like Alan Ritchson really brought it.
Oh yeah.
I saw a quote, and it was a statement attributed to Henry Cavill saying that he was thanking Alan Ritchson for taking on the brunt of the action in the movie. I personally, I don't know if that's real or not. I kind of don't know if I believe it.
Yeah, so he said a very similar thing on the Rich Eisen show that I watched with him, and he was like, it was kind of nice to be able to just show up and focus on the acting side of like the performance.
He's always playing a big action side,
and not have to like dive into the choreography and beat up my body and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, that's great. Like you've done a lot of that in the past and stuff. Is that like something of the past? And he's like, oh no. Like I still got a lot more coming up.
Your boy's going right back into it with Highlander. He's going right back at it.
Yeah. So I think he did. He did say something like that in the interview that I watched.
Yeah. When you watch the movie, it's very much like the Alan Ritchson show in terms of like the fight choreography. Right. And Gus March Phillips, which is Henry Cavill's character, is just kind of very casual about casually shooting people. He's like he's the ungentlemanly warfare side.
Yeah.
He's like taking people
He
out.
threw like what, maybe 2 punches?
Yeah, not a lot. He's got some very little up close.
Lots of gunshots for sure.
Yeah.
And like sticking his tongue out.
Yeah. He still portrayed it really well. Like the acting, the characters, it's all very silly and fun and like campy. And it was brilliantly like done by like
it's campy in like a serious way though, you know,
like a bloody,
it's not cheesy.
Like when Alan Ritchson comes up to the window with the axe and he's like all bloodied and he's like waving it around, smiling at them. Like it's fun, it's chaotic.
I felt like it all landed. All of that like kind of.
I was never taken out of the movie.
Yeah,
anything like that. Yeah,
I liked when they're in the boat and Alan Ritchson was like, oh no, you're too small for me, but you, it's like we could have a good time together.
Yeah, I really enjoyed just some of the choreography, like the using the arrow itself as a weapon, like
that was cool.
Bow.
He's like
very creative.
Yeah, that was really cool. Okay, what about cinematography? This covers a lot. It's got the camera angles, the composition of the shots, the lighting, the color grade, the camera movement. Also, we throw in the like VFX in this as well. So like there's a lot going into this category. This is one that we're normally super excited about. So what did you give it for this movie?
The first thing that really jumps out to me with the cinematography in this movie is it feels really bright. Like even at night, it feels like very clear.
Yep.
And the day scenes feel like kind of summery, like warm tones. So I feel like they had a style, which I appreciate, but I only gave it a 7.5.
Yeah, there's not a lot of like marquee shots that I can think of.
The one aerial shot over the top, and I love these, but over the top of the plane as they were bombing London, and you see like the London like city igniting with an explosion. That's a beautiful shot, but I couldn't name you a handful. I could only really. That's the first one that comes to mind.
I thought that the action was shot really well.
It's very clear. You could tell every hit.
Very well, which I think goes into it. Like if you don't notice the camera angles while you're watching the fight scene, they did it right.
That's probably the biggest challenge of an action movie, I would imagine.
Yeah. Like you did it right if they're not like, oh, there's a camera there.
Yeah.
I gave it a 8. I'm kind of like on the same boat as you is like, oh, it was all very bright. It looked very beautiful, but it wasn't as like heavily stylized in our typical liking,
I think
which is like a little more dark, maybe a little bit more of like colors and playing around with shaping the light more. But it did feel really nice. Like they're outside in the middle of the day and it looked great.
I think cool framing is really important for me too. Like there's a cool shot that's framed into the like little window in the boat when they're looking through, seeing Alan Ritchson take out the guys with the axe.
Yeah.
And that's cool. But I can only think of like a very slim amount of examples.
Yeah. Okay. Sound design. This includes the soundtrack, the score, and also any Foley work that you hear. What did you put for that?
So I actually gave it an 8.
Okay, climbing up.
Yeah, I thought like the originally composed music was good for like the hype moments. I thought, and it's always a challenge I think with action movies, doing sound mixing and the sound editing, and like it has to sound believable and not cheesy for gunfire. And they're also doing like period sounds, so they're using like needle drops and songs from like the 40s. So I thought they did a really good job, and it never did the sound bother me throughout the movie.
I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 because I was bopping. Yeah. Like I was, every time a transition song came on or something, like I was hitting my leg, like moving my head. Like I specifically remember like kind of dancing to the sound multiple times.
And that was important because the movie is like taking war and trying to be fun with it. Like definitely if you've seen Inglourious Basterds, you can see the inspiration in this movie. It's like, it's a very serious topic, World War II, but they're like treating it with levity. So the music was important, a key factor in that, I feel like.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it was one of my favorite categories that we've talked about so far for this movie. Set and character design is our next one. This is out of 5, and this is kind of why they chose to shoot where they shot, and then also their decisions of what they have to work with on the set. And outfits, what everyone's wearing. Henry Cavill stealing a coat from everyone.
Yeah.
Like
I must have that coat.
What did you think of the set and character design?
I almost kind of want to even move my score up, but I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Nice. I gave it a 4 out of 5 as well. I thought it looked fantastic. And they're all the different locations that they went to, the first like World War II base that they went to, where they got the Apple guy. What's his last name? Appleyard. Where they got him and he's like tied up, like you said, by his nipples or whatever. Like that place looked really cool, and then
like bunkers.
Yeah. And then of course all the boat stuff looked phenomenal.
Oh, they look so good out on the water in their sailboat, like the blues of the water. That's the cinematography. But I think that they did a really good job picking their locations. Like they picked these beautiful historic looking places, which I was thinking of really when they were at Fernando Po. I was like, wow, this whole, like the whole dock yard, like it all looked old,
Yeah.
Cobblestone streets, like
it all looked like they were there too.
Yeah.
Like you never got the feeling of like, oh, like they're in a volume,
Yeah. I think they shot a lot on location, like the cliff sides, when they scale that cliff with the ropes when they're going to Appleyard.
Yep.
Like there's so many things that are clear locations where that's me and Sierra's biggest pet peeve with modern movies is the use of like so much green screen, so much lack of like real locations.
Right.
And real locations are the way to go with big budget movies now. I mean, you used to do a lot of studio shooting in the
especially
50s,
something like this. I mean, this is so grounded of a movie, like it actually happened.
Yeah,
so.
and it's a largely European story. Like the most of the battle of World War II was on European soil, outside of Japan.
Yeah. Okay. Wrapping up our categories with rewatchability. This is out of.
Oh, sorry. Before we wrap up with Re-Watchability, I
Yeah.
also want to say Isa Gonzalez had amazing outfits in this movie when it comes to wardrobe. Her dresses, even outside of the dresses, like her costuming was just really on point. And every outfit, every scene she showed up in a new outfit, I feel like she had something really creative to wear. The military uniforms, I just feel like it's always impressive in a period piece. You know,
Her performance was really good.
It was very good. Yeah. Yeah, a lot rode on her because she was in the movie so much.
She was basically the lead.
She was the bigger star than Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
But I love period pieces because you get to be so creative with the costuming. Like there's so much fun costumes in this movie.
Yeah,
War uniforms.
And then the viewer gets to see something that they don't see every day.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like that is really cool. Right. Okay, rewatchability. This is out of 5 points. And this is where if you were doing nothing and was asked at 5 different times, how many times would you say yes to rewatching this movie?
This is my worst score, and I gave it a 2 out of 5.
Wow. That's it?
Just in my mind, I know, like, I want to go back and watch the half of the movie that I enjoyed. And I have to think about the half that I don't really want to rewatch.
I gave it a 3.5, and I think I'm blinded by all the action parts, you know, because it was so good.
There was only 2 action scenes. Not scenes, but there was only 2 action, like, I don't know what you want to call them, like an arc. Like, it's longer than a scene.
I did like the opening scene, though, on the boat. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. But if you tallied up the amount of the movie that's action, it'd probably be like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, as of right now, it's a 3.5. Maybe if I watch it again, it'll dip down. But overall, great movie. My score came out to an 8 out of 10.
Mine came out to a 7.3, which I think 7.3 is pretty close to public perception. IMDb gave it a 7.1, you said.
Dang.
I feel like 8's kind of high for this movie, honestly.
So, what is wrong with me then? Or what is wrong with you? Why are we... Whoa.
Are you good?
I don't know.
You had a concussion.
Did I write this movie wrong? I don't think so. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I do think in my mind 8's a little high. I'm happy with 7.3 for this movie. Like 7.3 is still a good score, an enjoyable movie.
Mm-hmm. I gave 8s on everything, 8.5 for sound design. So average it out to an 8 there. Anything else that you have for this movie?
No, I mean, I'm always excited to see a new Henry Cavill joint. And I don't want to murky like the waters. I really did enjoy watching this movie. Like a 7.3 it's not just an okay movie. It's a good, enjoyable movie. I have my big critiques that the act scene was undersold, the action was oversold,
but it delivered for what was there.
Yeah, when they did deliver action, some of the best action I've seen in literal years.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was on par with Bullet Train action, which is one of my, if you don't know, is one of my favorite action movies. So like when they did actually have action, it was absolutely peak action. Fast moving, intense, like bloody, gory hits, creative use of weapons like a bow and arrow instead of guns, like cool stealth, ideas and concepts. So when they did do it, it was freaking phenomenal. But like it was just not enough of the movie.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I hear you there. I do.
Also, Henry Cavill's character, Gus March Phillips, married Isa Gonzalez's character, and there's no real interaction between their characters in the movie, which is a disservice because those two are both very attractive people.
Yeah. Well, where would it fit in though? They're never together.
They could have put a little bit more time after they get on the ship.
Yeah, I hear you.
Or they could have changed history a little bit more. Have them fight together, a little bit.
Well, what did you guys think? Have you seen this movie and did you enjoy it as much as we did? Let us know down in the comments below. Henry Cavill's one of our favorite actors. So it was a blast watching him throw it down in the theaters this time around with Alan Ritchson just like being a mountain of a man.
Yeah, he was the best part of this movie.
I agree. Yeah, he was a lot of fun for sure. He's gonna get a lot of calls coming up. I mean, he already is, but even more so,
He's just gonna keep growing. He's hitting it out of the park when they
right. Like if you learned anything from his like career is like taking steroids like pays off.
It works in the industry.
Allegedly.
Yeah, definitely let us know what you guys think of this movie. And let us know what you think of the lightning review format. Because normally our reviews are like an hour to an hour and a half. And this is only our second lightning review. We did one on Roadhouse if you want to check that one out as well. It came out on Amazon Prime recently.
We're at like 23 minutes right now.
Yeah. So this is a lot quicker. And we just kind of get our thoughts out there, don't expand as much. So if you like this format, if it's a little bit more digestible and easy for you to get in a listen, let us know if you like it.
Absolutely. We post new episodes every Monday and Thursday, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss anything. Andrew, where else are we?
We're on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X. We're all over the place. We're anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Please make sure to go on Spotify and rate and review our show. It helps us out a ton, preferably with a good rating. The thing that helps our show the most, too, is if you're able to share us with friends and family. It helps grow our community and help new people find out about the show, build this movie, love our community that we are so passionate about. You should tell them to join our Discord along with you, and we could have a conversation in there about movies and our mutual love. And you could also give episode topic suggestions. That Discord is how much? Absolutely for free.
Yeah, so if you want to join in the conversation, make sure you comment below and join the Discord. Thanks so much for watching, and that's a wrap.